Interested in supporting Blue Valley activities and athletics? All In BV offers businesses unique opportunities to get involved. From video boards and static signage at athletic events to elementary car pickup tag sponsorships seen by families every day, your partnership directly supports Blue Valley students, athletes, and performers while giving your business valuable community visibility. Learn more at bluevalleyk12.org/allinbv.
I love Blue Valley because I feel a lot of support. It's a great community.
We are a people that believe in excellence, that believe in constantly striving for more.
I think that there's a lot of opportunities that I would have never explored on my own, and all of the teachers and staff here at Blue Valley make everything so much easier and more accessible.
Welcome to Blue Valley Unmuted. I'm Gillian Chapman, Superintendent of Blue Valley Schools. Today we're diving into a topic that is at the heart of our mission, academic success, and talking about how that plays a role in how we cultivate lifelong learners prepared to navigate their future with purpose. It's always important to think about academic success and how we are preparing students for their future. I also want to remind everyone that a student is more than just a test score. And while we're going to be talking about test scores and data, I also want to remind everyone that we're talking about a student who's developing all sorts of skills as they navigate and prepare to be lifelong learners. So I don't want to get too bogged down in test scores, but it is an important component for us and how we measure our success. In October, every household in the Blue Valley District boundaries received our Champions of Learning publication in the mail. This publication highlights our students' achievements from literacy growth to how our graduates are succeeding in post-secondary education and careers. Data is a great way to inform how we continue supporting our students to reach that next level. And also behind every data point is a story of dedication, innovation, and community. To help me talk about this today, I'm joined by Melissa Blevins, Blue River Elementary Principal, Dr. Tyler Alexander, Blue Valley Southwest Principal, and Kelly June, Executive Director of Academic Service. Thank you all for being here today. I want to first ask each of you to tell me what the phrase champions of learning means to each of you in the context of your work and our schools. Dr. Alexander, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I think of it, obviously, the word champion meaning we're the best. So just setting that bar as high as we possibly can to know that, whatever we're doing, we're trying to do it at the highest level possible, knowing that that may mean something different for each kid that we have. But that bar is always set as high as possible for each of them. And at the end, it's not about necessarily competition, but it's definitely about doing what's right for the students. And so that championship mindset is definitely kind of the motivating factor for sure.
I'm wondering if you're weaving in there how your boys' soccer team are the champions, the state champions this year.
Certainly it's nice to have some parallels when you can see and kids can feel what that looks like when they do become champions of something like a soccer game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
I always think of that phrase in the context of just the history of Blue Valley and how important and how excelling in academics and other endeavors has been to this community and how our students have really risen to that challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. And, I really truly believe that, being a champion for learning is being a champion for the people who are making that happen. And, I looked at, the history of Blue Valley, and the word excellence just kept coming up over and over again. And I feel like our commitment to excellence in Blue Valley starts with our commitment to our people and ensuring that they have a safe environment to feel like they can take risks and, just do what's best for kids and collaborate on those things that are important to make sure that we are meeting the needs of every learner across, whether that is academics, social emotional needs, and more. So
I don't know if you noticed, but when you said that phrase, you said champions for learning.
Oh.
And I think that's also important to note that's what the district and all the educators in our district are champions for learning for every student.
Thanks for pointing that out. Melissa, I'd like for you to tell us about our youngest learners. Over 80% of our students in grades 2 through 8 scored in the low risk or college pathway category on the Fast Bridge reading assessment during the 24-25 school year. More than 74% of our kindergarten and first grade students scored at or above benchmark on the Acadience Reading Diagnostic Assessment. That's pretty remarkable progress, and we know that these strong foundations lay that pathway for lifelong learning and that feeling of success. So, Melissa, what's driving that success in early learning at Blue River?
Yeah. Well, I am a true believer that, we are the foundation at elementary. And so first and foremost, it's quality tier 1 instruction. And so ensuring that that is systematic, it is consistent, it is on pace. That was a big goal of ours last year. And we saw great results because of that. And then also early intervention. So making sure every student has access to that quality tier 1 instruction, but then also looking across our data and identifying areas where students might be at risk or systems might be at risk, and then ensuring that we are, intervening early and monitoring that progress on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about math if we can, and I'm going to stick with you for a minute, Melissa. 80% of our kindergarten through 7th grade students were at or above benchmark in the iReady Spring Math Diagnostic, with the median Blue Valley student outpacing expectations by at least 19 percentage points. From your perspective and what you're seeing in your building, what's helping your students grow so strongly in math? And if you could specifically talk about some strategies or classroom experiences that are happening in your building that build that confidence and success.
Yeah. Well, I think that the staff has really leaned into this iReady resource, and I think it's a very comprehensive resource. So it does provide a lot of consistency in Tier 1 instruction, and we specifically, in fact, at our professional learning earlier this week, we're revisiting some of the strategies that are integral to keeping the integrity of that program intact. So just those habits of discussion and ensuring that we are not over scaffolding and ensuring that there is some of that productive struggle, because that can be hard as a teacher to watch students struggle. So that's one area that we were just really revisiting to make sure that we are doing consistently so that we don't have variability when students go from one grade level to the next, and we're really ensuring that there's that viable curriculum. So that is one way that we are doing that. But we also really lean into that My Path and personalized learning for students who are needing it, and have one of our instructional paras who helps facilitate some of that, so students are on track and they are consistently utilizing that resource so that we are filling some of those gaps, because as we know, math builds on itself. And so those are just a few of the things that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Great. Kelly, when you look at these literacy and math results, how do they connect to the district's broader academic goals? And how do these strong foundations shape the kind of learners and leaders we want to cultivate?
I think there's truly nothing a student can't do if they have really strong literacy and math skills. And by focusing on ensuring that every Blue Valley student is strong in reading and writing, speaking, listening, and those mathematical skills, we're ensuring that they're capable for taking whatever next step they choose, be it college or career. And I'm just really proud of our educators and our leaders' focus that you just heard on building those building blocks and their dedication to that mission. I think one of the things that has been especially beneficial in the last couple of years is really leaning into rigor and setting a high bar and then providing those supports. And iReady is the quintessential example of having a really high bar and a staff willing to provide the support so every student can succeed.
Great. Thank you. Turning to our older students, Blue Valley continues to lead the state academically. Our ACT average is 22.9, almost 4 points higher than the state average, and we had 903 AP scholars last school year and a 96.7 graduation rate. And to think about those AP scholars, for maybe someone listening that isn't familiar with what an AP scholar is, I'm going to ask Dr. Alexander to add a response to that when he answers my next question here. We also had more than 82% of our graduates who are earning a market value asset while they are still in high school. So Dr. Alexander, when you think about these results, how do they translate? How how do they translate to the work occurring at Blue Valley Southwest to ensure our students are graduating ready to navigate their future?
Yeah. I mean, first off, I think it's exciting to see like each group of freshmen that we have coming in over the last few years, like their skills and abilities are like just continually above even the grade before because of some of the work that's been going on at the elementaries and the middle schools. And now at the high school level, we get to kind of just take it and run. So I think for some of the answer to that question has been recalibrating a little bit of what the expectations are for our students and really a big focus on that transition in the 9-10 experience. So just like at elementary or just as adults, like we all thrive on knowing what that expectation is. So I think some of the work at Southwest has been really centered on what those clear expectations are for our students and what that looks like at a grade level course as a ninth grade. How does that distinguish differences at the honors level? And then what's that pathway look like in the 9-10 and then the 11-12? So we kind of tried to chunk those up a little bit together. So we've had enormous success, like you mentioned, with AP, kiddos who are earning a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP test, earning that chance for college credit, considered that passing score. Kids who do that in 3 or more AP tests, getting that distinction as a scholar. I mean, we have some students who earn those scores on 5, 6, 7, 8 AP exams even in like a given year. So it's just a really, really high level of excellence. So again, looking at that from the lens of the student experience and trying to figure out what that interest is. And we've had more success with kids getting those higher level AP scores when we find their interest areas, not just to take AP, but also tapping into like the student experience. What are you interested? What do you want to do with this? And so I think we've been successful finding those niches better. And then again, just that work at the 9-10, preparing them for those college level skills that they're getting at 11 and 12. And we're seeing success from it.
Yeah. Helping prepare them earlier, I think, is something that I'm hearing a lot about, and helping students connect their passion to what they're learning in school. Mm-hmm. Some of these results speak to our students who we would most consider our high achievers. Tyler, when you think about the median on Blue Valley grade level student, how are you helping them and ensuring they're also experiencing success, however that may look for them? I had a recent conversation with students at Southwest, and I was so impressed with they were asking for more. They wanted more opportunities to read. They wanted more opportunities to write and to apply and for things to be rigorous. So I'm wondering if that's the general feel across all students at Southwest.
Yeah, it was a pretty specialized group you talked with too. So I think if you polled maybe our whole student body, would they want to write more? Maybe a little but definitely an area that we're continuing to push in all levels. So when I think on level in Blue Valley, thankfully for our building and the district we work in, like on level in our district is still, they're doing so much and they're doing so well. And so I think part of our teachers' motivation has been to, you can use that word, champion them in those classes, that it's not, well, I'm not in honors. Well, no, you are in our on-level courses, which is a fantastic spot to be, where you can still be challenged and you can still learn and grow those skills with whatever your goals may end up being. One of the, I would say at Southwest, one of our biggest areas of growth has come in student growth in our on-level programming. And a lot of it has been a focus on like getting students talking and less talking to and them talking with. And sometimes in honors and AP, there's a little bit more of the curriculum. There's the test that's kind of looming there. We don't have that same thing in on level. So turning it back on them, getting them talking, getting them asking questions. And we've been churning through a lot of data just in our own building about how engagement changes, the interest in students changes, their ability to ask questions. And then maybe the most exciting thing is them willing to return back to a task they didn't do well the first time. And so when we get kids engaged in that, I think that's where we're seeing some really high level growth, not just in AP and honors, but really, again, in that 9-10 on level experience, which is really exciting.
And we don't want our students just to succeed in high school. We also want them to experience success post-graduation, whether that's going to college, attending a trade skill, or earning a certification. We talked about AP scholars, so a lot of our students are leaving high school with a semester, 2 semesters, even 3 semesters of college credit. And we also know that when a student is building confidence in college level classes, that they're more apt to continue their education with a certification or a trade school or college. Of our 2024 graduates, 84% enrolled in college after graduation, and 94% of them enrolled in college returned for a second year. So, Dr. Alexander, what work is taking place in your classrooms that's contributing to that kind of post-secondary success?
Well, I would say just in the classrooms, we have students come back and talk to us about how they feel that freshman year of college is actually significantly easier than their 11th and 12th grade years with us, which I think is a compliment. I mean, we definitely want them to go find that success. And so if we're getting them prepared or even over-prepared at times, then we're setting that bar at a really great level to stretch them with the supports we have in a high school environment, knowing that then they can go do that maybe with those less supports at the college level. And I think the other piece of that, and just a shout out to where our counselors really are focused in this area of finding those interests and niches and all the different opportunities we have in Blue Valley, and just watching the partnerships expand over the last few years. We're having more post-secondary success because we're having kids in programs that they want to be in, that they can see their future in, and that maybe it's not necessarily in a Southwest classroom, that may be at CAPS, that may be through Johnson County or whatever that looks like. They're doing a great job at really tapping into those. And after a few years of kind of working through what it looks like, I mean, we're finding those spots for the right kids, and then boom, we have great families, we have great supports, you put them in the right spot, and our kids just do incredible things. And so we're getting to benefit from that and seeing that grow. And it's really, really great.
I would agree with you. All the schools where I have a student advisory team of students that I meet with, and it's all the high schools in Blue Valley Academy, the students have all consistently said the things that they appreciate about Blue Valley is the outstanding support that they've received all along the way, the opportunities for clubs and activities and sports beyond the classroom. But they know that if they need help with something, there are support staff available in every single building. So that's been exciting to see. Kelly, when we talk about students navigating their future with purpose, how are we helping current students develop that purpose and make that connection that Dr. Alexander was talking about between what they're learning today and the opportunities they will have after graduation?
I think Blue Valley does this in just a myriad of ways. I can maybe highlight a couple of them that are more formalized. One is through the individual plan of study. That process begins in elementary and middle school, and students evaluate their strengths, discover their passions, maybe even discover things they don't enjoy, and evaluate what their successes and why they were successful, whether it be in the classroom or activities out. And then they use that information to build a plan for their future for high school, and it goes deeper into high school. Championing your strengths and leaning into your strengths is what we want to do with our students, and that's one way we allow them the space and time to do that. Another way is just through personalizing learning experiences. I think both of these principals have spoken very eloquently about how they do that in their classrooms, but even as a district, our curriculum has learning objectives that ask teachers to tie their learning to their real lives. And our educators do an amazing job of leveraging that to create the relevancy and connect current learning to future goals. So I think as a system, we're always looking at how to connect it to what's next for kids.
We'd be remiss to not acknowledge that without our exemplary educators, our students wouldn't have these academic successes that we are celebrating today. So the next couple of questions, I'd like to open it up to each one of you. And the first one is, how are we supporting educators as they use data to inform their instruction and ensure that every student is receiving personalized instruction that meets their needs?
I think one way from a district level is providing a tool. So we do have a tool called EduClimber that helps teachers aggregate, visualize data, sort data. And why I think that's important is that they have the tools they need to do that so they can get to the work and use their expertise and not spend their time in spreadsheets. So as a district, we support teachers and try to do the automated things, that's not a word, things for them so that they can use the data and make those professional decisions that our educators are so able to do.
I would just say at the high school level, obviously we have opportunities for professional learning communities and getting those teams together a couple times a week. EduClimber was something I was going to talk about of seeing teachers be more familiar with that and actually talk about data, but know like what it means and where it came from, and then the ability to have the time to figure out what to do with it. The introduction of our instructional design coach in my building has been a complete game changer to be able to interpret the data, to move forward with it in cooperation with the district. He's able to come in, understand from the district level what the goals are, and then be able to implement that in ELA with the math team, with the science team. So not only are we getting some support there, but then it's also just that building goal of all looking at data individually and being able to find the pieces to move forward with. And in the last 2 years, that's been more progress in that area than I've ever had.
Great.
Yeah, I think at the elementary, we have great assessments, and we've really been focusing on ensuring that educators have a strong assessment literacy skills and understand the purpose of each assessment, what questions are we trying to answer with this assessment data, and then how to use that data to make changes, whether that's to a system or whether that's to a particular student, which always happens in our PLCs. We do those weekly, and we have interdisciplinary teams that help interpret data, look at data. In fact, this week it was our 6-week check-in for our WIN time, which stands for What I Need, which is our intervention time. But also students who don't need skill, intervention. We also have students who are on level and are being pushed too. So everybody's getting what they need. And we went through student by student who is currently being progress monitored because they do have a need for a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention. And did they pass their progress monitoring? If they did, what's the next step? If they didn't, what's the next step? And so, we go down to each and every student and also just looking across student data. So who are our students who are showing the highest risk, because we are seeing maybe attendance and reading scores that are lower, and just making sure that we're purposeful with our data and we're not just collecting data to collect it. We're collecting it to use it to make a difference for our students.
It sounds like all of you are reflecting on how data used to be maybe a bit of a dirty word and considered in isolation, almost like your weight loss plan, where you didn't really want to get on the scale in front of everybody. And we kind of guarded some of that information as private or personal. And it really requires a lot of trust within a team and to be vulnerable with one another, to look at data and say, this group of students that I have in my class aren't performing at the same level as, maybe one of my colleagues. So let's talk a little bit about how collaboration amongst our educators, whether it's during their plan time or professional learning days or our elementary collaboration days, how does that collaboration happen? How did you foster that sense of trust and ability to be vulnerable with one another, to be coached into better feedback, I suppose, or better results? So how does all of that drive student growth? Like, in a nutshell, why does it matter?
Well, we spend a lot of time in the beginning and really throughout just developing relationships, with our staff members and really making sure that every staff member has a strong understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, and ensuring that they do feel comfortable with one another. We always take time to set our norms for the year. We revisit our norms throughout the year. So at the beginning of a PLC, we might go through some of those. And, one of the things that we're really working on this year is just being okay to have a courageous conversation with another adult in the building, because I think sometimes we are very nice to one another, and I do believe there's a difference between nice and kind, but nice doesn't always move the needle. And so I first of all, I'm the first one to say I was wrong. This data shows I was wrong. I also am the owner of all of our data. So it all falls on me, really, and taking that off of them because it truly does. I mean, I am the one setting the direction. So it's not you, it's me, and just so I can model that and make them feel comfortable saying, yes, I have this data in front of me. What does it mean? And that they know that as a team, we are all going to work for each and every student, whether they're in your class or not.
Talking about is just exemplifies your leadership in creating a collective commitment to do the best thing for kids. And when you have collective commitment and collaboration, it can be some secret sauce for some great results. So, and I think it's schools like Blue River that Melissa leads who have both of those things in place that are really making a difference for kids.
Yeah.
I think we really shifted towards some more like positive intent when we changed the wording about like goal setting to just making progress. And for the good and for the bad, like our jobs are never finished. Every year there is a new group of kids. There potentially are new teachers, new state or district initiatives, so it's never finished. So the ability to talk about making progress on hard things, just that in itself, like put everybody at ease. And then from there, just with that positive thought, finding those collective commitments. What are we really wanting to get better at today? Because what we want to maybe get better at next year, like we may not have the right factors. We may not have all of the right ingredients yet to go do that. So what do we have that we can go do today or this month? And so getting our teacher leaders to kind of run with that and set some of their goals within our departments, and then looking around like, yep, we got this ingredient, boom, here we go. And then just celebrating each step of that and saying, all right, so that's that first step in that long process that we're going to keep working on. What do we need to keep moving forward? So I think just the element of progress, and obviously when you see results coming from that, there's no better motivator, whether that's that light bulb for that kid in that class, or you do see significant increases in some of our assessment data, whether in building or at the state level. I mean, that all thankfully contributes to the positive energy behind it.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. I really appreciate how you are highlighting having a growth mindset and modeling for students and staff about having a growth mindset. And then your second point of making progress every day. And it's my goal that every day is just a little bit too hard for every student in every class, yet they know that they have the support they need to be successful. And that they can and will learn. Maybe they don't have the information they need yet, but with that growth mindset that you're modeling, they'll get there. I really appreciate all three of you being here today, and I hope our conversation helped our community understand that academic success is more than just high test scores. It's about the growth and the opportunity we offer our students and how we support them in their journey to succeed. Our Blue Valley students are thriving because they are surrounded by educators and families who believe in them. We're focused on not just what students are learning, but who they are becoming, which we hope are curious thinkers, compassionate leaders, and lifelong learners. Academic success looks different for every student, and Blue Valley is committed to help each student find their own path to success. Thank you again to our guests today for engaging in this important conversation and for the hard work that you do every day to make sure academic success is possible for our students. Thanks for listening, and make it a great day, Blue Valley.
Want to see what learning looks like in action? Follow Blue Valley Schools on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. From student success stories to behind-the-scenes moments, you'll get an inside look at how we are cultivating lifelong learners prepared to navigate their future with purpose. Get connected, stay informed, be inspired.